Hello, and welcome to our video audio podcast, Couched in Color. I'm your mental health expert, teen and young adult crusader, and psychological scientist, Dr. Alfiee. This podcast reflects my life's work, helping our young people and young at heart identify mental health challenges, disrupt negative patterns, and discover the best versions of themselves. I'm so happy that you've joined us. For over 20 years, I want you to know that I've had my finger on the pulse of BIPOC teen mental health. I recognize that historically and currently, with these dual pandemics of COVID and racial injustice raging, our young people are suffering, sometimes they're struggling, and always the care that they need is quite scarce. So each week, I'm joined by young people, mental health experts, celebrities, and influencers to help us uncover the secrets to healing the hearts and minds of our BIPOC teens, their families, and their communities. Here at Couched in Color, we believe deeply in spreading love and light, bolstered by culturally relevant science. So let's dive in. So welcome, everybody. It's Couched in Color with Dr. Alfiee, and I'm always honored, but I got family on here today. So it's just really my pleasure to have my two guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but I'm going to flex a little bit and show y'all my pronunciation skills. So we have Alfiee Gates and we have Evans Anyanwu. The two developers. I'm going to let them tell you what they developed, and then we're going to dive in a little bit. So gentlemen, whoever would like to start, please go ahead. And then please tell the peoples want to hear about this amazing app that you all have created. So tell us a little bit about who you are and introduce yourselves and tell us about this app.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Alfiee, and thanks for having us on this show. Our app is actually in the mental health space, and you're one of those people that are big leaders in this space, getting the word out. So we're humbled to be on this show, and we thank you very much. What my good friend Ali and I created is an app called a You Good app, and as you know, You Good is just something that especially in the Black community that we say to each other just to check in on each other, like, hey, hey brother, you good? And one time, a few months ago, I did not hear from my friend Ali for a while, and I got kind of concerned. And anyone that knows me knows if I don't hear from you for a while and you're dear to me, I'm gonna check in. So I caught up with Ali. I said, "Hey Ali, brother, you good? What's going on?" And he was a little off, and he explained that he was having a weird day, but everything was okay. And I started talking to him about the idea of having that check-in be easier because I think sometimes people don't want the weight of having to reply to people and explain why they have been out of contact. And I talked to him about the idea of of an app called You Good, which he thought it was okay, but he wasn't really sold at the beginning. But then he started talking about a lot of data he's been seeing regarding the disproportional effect of COVID on African Americans. And then he said, look, Evans, people are going through it, and I think this concept that you have could really make sense in the form of mental health. And, I thought about it and, I said, wow, that's a great idea. And that conversation turned into hours that day. And he could tell you a little bit more about the rest of it. Ali?
I'm Alfiee Gates, one of the co-founders of You Good, and there's four of us, and so most people are starting to see our faces, but there's two others that's a part of the team, and they solve a really integral part of the team, and we're grateful to have them as well. But what took this conversation that Evans described, which happened on a Friday, ended up going 3 hours. And then from there, I just started getting started. I went right to work on just framing out what You Good would look like and what it'd be. So I started putting together some flows, right, of what the app can sort of look like and feel like. And then around 2:00 in the morning, I'm sending over some screenshots over to Evans, like, hey, maybe the app should behave like this, maybe this and maybe that. But one thing I was missing was sort of the research behind the app. And so I had my own assumptions, which was bad, which is a bad way to build product. You want to kind of go through the research phase. And go through the hypothesis phase, and then I kind of validate that. And so, although Evans and I kind of validated this idea, we truly wanted to speak with individuals like yourself, Dr. Alfiee, which we did, Charlemagne, and so many others in the space, to help us really think through what this could potentially be, and then most importantly, how this can service a need of users. And so, again, like Evan said, the data was very, was overwhelming in the sense where it was, blacks and browns and minorities were affected adversely by COVID. And so our way, in a very social distance way, in a sense, was to build something, this tool that we feel that can, kind of keep the conversation going around mental health, allow people to check in on their contacts, stay engaged, stay in touch, and most importantly, spread love.
I'd love that. I'd love that. So you spoke a little bit about this, gentleman, but what I'm curious about is what is the, how do I say this? Why mental health instead of physical health, right? Because COVID, right? I heard Evans, you speak to the disproportionate impact on community, and Ali, you did too, about the ways in which it's impacting communities of color differently than it is impacting white communities. But that's also in the physical sense, like who's getting the disease, who's more
Mm-hmm.
exposed, who
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately and sadly is passing away from the disease, or from the virus, which leads to the disease, which takes people away from us, unfortunately. But why mental health, right? Because there are all these other physical things that
Yeah.
would be important. Why did you all decide mental health was important?
That's a good question because one of the significant effects of COVID is that we were separated physically. Like we were indoors. So like we could not see each other. We're zooming. So when you're looking at your loved ones through like a FaceTime or a Zoom, you're not able to see the true internal pains that they're going through. And that's one of the reasons that we thought about it from that perspective. Because when I didn't hear from Ali for a while, we were physically separated, but I didn't know what he was going through at that time, which was
Yeah.
emotional. Ali.
Yeah. No, sorry.
No, I thought you had something to say. I'm sorry. So, and that's why we, we thought about it from the mental health perspective, because the numbers are there physically. I mean, we're 13% of the population, but we're like 33% of hospitalizations, and we're the 23% of the deaths. Where Ali's at right now, he moved from, we were both in Newark, now he's in Maryland, but from March to May, from when the state of Maryland, closed because of COVID until when they started opening in May, Black suicide increased 100%. So and that's fact. That was a study by John Hopkins. So the thing is, that trauma is there, and that trauma has significantly affected our community, but there's not a lot being said about it, and that's why we've been getting a lot of accolades as to why we really focused on people of color with this particular app, and we were intentional about it, we didn't say, "Are you good?" We say, "You good?" 'Cause that's us.
Yeah.
That's us, and we really meant that.
That's right. That's right. I love it. Ali, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? I mean, it's very profound, but
No, I think Evans, he always hits it right on the head. Me, I when doing these interviews, I'm always shy and reserved, but most importantly, like I think about the biggest impact that I can make is on the product side and engineering side. And when we got in touch with yourself, we were able to kind of like share what we were doing, right? And we took, and it's something that we constantly do. It's been a great deal of time of talking to our users in a sense, right?
yes.
Seeing what impact the app is making on their lives. We're getting constant support emails of, this app allows me to communicate with my mom differently now. My parents, my children, my siblings, universities and universities and nonprofits have reached out to us. To me, that's really the purpose behind the actual platform. I like to say that, rather us having a purpose, the app has a purpose, right? And we think that if it could bring people together, and not just, Black and minorities, but essentially everybody, right? Because what it does is in a very simple way, it syncs your contacts. Um, and then every one of those contacts, you can see their moves based on the three colors, red, green, and yellow. And so those colors represents everyone's mood. And so, whereas someone in the green state might not require you to check in on me, or, you check in on them. But most importantly, I think that, you might see that, oh, wait, why Ali's in the green state? Let me just double tap their name and check in. And maybe I got a new job, or maybe I bought a new house, or maybe perhaps I'm just having a great day. I'm just happy to be here. So all those different cases that went into the study behind the app around the different moods and the colors is something that, we were inspired by a lot from researchers and the medical professionals, the therapists, and mental health experts. It's quite fascinating, the journey on how fast we built it, but most importantly, how much knowledge we took in over those conversations. And if you remember that conversation that we had when we walked you guys through that virtual demo, everyone on that call played a big part. We had celebrities on the call. We had NBA players, WNBA players, and everyone, what we noticed throughout the pandemic were sharing on social media, or the people that were reaching out to me or Evans, they were talking about mental health, right? And so these were people that we handpicked specifically because of the need and the topic and the service that we were addressing. But most importantly, these weren't people that we picked because they were high profile individuals. They were regular individuals on the call as well, but they played a big part into the inspiration behind this. And then seeing that the validation came from them seeing that, hey, this is a tool that I can use, right? And there's some really cool features that allows me to connect with not just one person, but essentially like multiple people in one shot. I think that was really just a fascinating, opportunity. And then, we're fielding all these different requests from reporters and media and things of that nature. And, one thing we're trying to, in a sense, make sure of is that we don't promote, again, like we're not promoting us. We're not trying to become famous off this project, right? This is like truly like our nonprofit, right? Our public service. And I think people are really catching on to that because we're not just, putting ourselves out there. We're trying to just, keep the conversation going.
Oh, I love everything about that. It's not just sounds, but it's very selfless. The amount of work that goes into what you all do. I've heard each of you mention in passing. I want the people to hear this. How long it took you to go from concept to actual putting the app together and getting a product that you were ready to put. I guess, look, just forgive my ignorance, that you put on the different app stores where people can download it. How
Yeah.
long did that process take? Not from the day you said, oh, let's make a mental health app, but from the day you actually started tinkering with it to create, I don't know how it works with code or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How long did it take y'all to do it?
So I'll walk you through the process if you don't
Okay.
mind. So,
No problem.
so years ago, I worked at Google. And so Google is famous for what they call a design sprint. And a design sprint is like you take an idea that's been validated, right? And I use that word a lot because like you just don't want to build an idea you feel like, oh, people will use this. This is a great idea. You want to be able to talk to your users and see like if this is something that they actually can use. And that's something that when we had that focus group, right?
Yep.
We asked everyone. People gave their honest opinion, and then we went back and we tried to to iterate. But the design process for us started once we got all the knowledge. So that was day one. So we spoke with everyone, yourself and many others, and we got all this knowledge. And we asked a lot of questions, and we had these questions prepared in advance of what we wanted to ask people like yourself. Based on those responses, we just started framing out on our whiteboard, just kind of like, okay, what this can be. So day one was sort of like knowledge, right? Kind of like developing a rhythm. Day two was most importantly, just kind of like, all right, now we have all these different, and we have the feedback from everyone that's inspired in this idea, how we start writing out the requirements for this, right? Like, what is this going to be? And then a part of those requirements, like I'm building out those flows, right? And building out the wires and saying like, okay, this should behave like this, it should behave like that. Day three was the design process. So like we spent the entire day just designing the app. We knew from day one, the research that we had from the medical professionals, like the red, green, and yellow was something that was going to play a big part of our actual design. But crazy enough, Evans had this idea months ago, and he had sent over to me in advance, like these icons that were red, green, and yellow. So We knew that was in a sense of direction, specifically Evans knew that, but all the knowledge that we were receiving, or that's being transferred to us, I totally missed that. Evans had shared that with me. And when it became clear that this is how mental health experts and therapists communicate with their clients, we were like, okay. And then Evans like hit me on the back of the shoulder and said like, hey, this is what I've been thinking about from day one. So that served a big sort of like, that was a bit like a light bulb went off for us in that moment. And we started just designing the entire application, both the iPhone and the Android application, based off these 3 colors. And we did it in about maybe 9 hours or so, went through several iterations. Evans and the team were like, oh, Ali, I don't like it. I love it. Let's tweak this, let's do that. And so once we had the basis of our design, right, and what we call like the minimum lovable product, right, like what we're going to go to market with, which is essentially what you see in the App Store now. From there, once we had all the requirements, we had the designs, me, Ezekiel, and Johnson, we just put our heads down for 48 hours. And this was also during the Thanksgiving holiday, which is crazy enough. I happened to be moving here during that same time period. So we said, all right, in 48 hours, like we need this done. That's our deadline. And so we just cranked it out in 48 hours, held everyone accountable. And then within that 48-hour period, which was that Friday, I said, I sent over Evans instructions on how you can actually test the app. And he's like, this is crazy. He was blown away. And so like the app was essentially built in 48 hours, but we try not to, the message to some degree is misleading, right? Because as a product owner, like you don't want to kind of promote that we built it in 48 hours. Right. Yes, we were able to build it and test it in 48 hours, but we went through about a month of, sort of like stress testing, QA testing, and sort of like in the design process as well to kind of get it where it is today.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So I want all my audience to hear these brothers, these 2 Black men describe. I think 2 things are really important, especially for my young brothers to hear, because I have a 14-year-old son. And it is that you did your own research, right? Yep. Number 1, that, I guess there's a couple things, that you had the insight, Evans, where you were already on the red, yellow, green, right? You like the intuition, right? So you followed that. Then you also, both of you and your other 2 colleagues, had the technical knowledge to walk yourselves through a process. I just feel like that's important because those aren't always messages that our young people, I'm not going to get on the soapbox, but it's just important for people to hear that these 2 Black men did this, or 4 Black men did this in the way that you did it. Because that's just not something that we get to see enough of. Well-trained, super well-educated, dedicated to a passion project, as both of you have said, that's really put out there for public consumption to help people. And so I just feel like all of those things are really important. And then Evans, I have a question for you. What made you decide to go with the red, yellow, and green? And I'm peeping that shirt. I want me a sweatshirt, but I ain't gonna say that no more. I'm just saying, kidding, but not really. So yeah. So Evans, tell me about the process. What had you thinking about the red, yellow, and green? I keep wanting to say red, black, and green because that's like, do you know what I mean? Like it's like that's why I keep looking down because I'm like red, yellow, green. So Evans, go.
Sometimes
go right
I say red, green, yellow, and blue. I'm like, wait.
Well. Well, 3 things actually were very important in this app. That was relatability, it was empathy, and it was privacy. Relatability, when we focus on relatability, we said we want something that people could relate to. That's quick and easy to understand, that a 4-year-old will get it. And so 2 things from that was you good and the colors. If I have a 9-year-old, if I show her red, she knows that means to stop. If I show her, green, go, and yellow is going to be, let me be a little bit more cautious. So relatability was very important, something easy to grasp. And then empathy for the feelings and ability to understand what someone is going through and our lead came up with this concept where we wanted to give, a nod to Project Semicolon, which is like an organization that deals with suicide and mental health. So Ali came to me and said, Evans, on the spelling of our name, we're going to put U semicolon good. And what semicolon means, as you know, in writing, that your sentence is not over. So no matter what you're going through, your sentence is not over. And then we focused on privacy. So the contacts that you have on your phone, they're not going to see my emotions or my feelings, because we don't have the same contacts. And we know that it's really the people that you have in your contacts that probably would be the best to help and assist you when you're kind of like going through something. So within the app, it's only your contacts, because it's not Instagram or other social media apps where the world is invited. No, here is a closed community where it's only your own contacts that will be able to check in on you, and then you check in on them. And just because they're your contacts doesn't mean that you talk to them every day, because we have people on our phones that we haven't seen and talked to in years. So we wanted to be something where you open up your phone, you kind of like scroll through the You Good app, and you say, Keisha's on red. I haven't spoken to Keisha in like 3 years. Let me double tap her name. And then, Keisha would see that I checked in on her. And that's important, because and I say this a lot, relationships are these emotional banks, and we have to keep putting in deposits, because oftentimes, there's strife because people come to this emotional bank and they want to make a withdrawal, but they never put in any deposit. And then, so that's when, things become odd. So, so the red, the yellow and the green, came from us focusing on relatability,
Wow. I just love everything that you just said. And it really does speak to like you all trying to make sure. I heard this new term. It's from somebody I know through Shar. Shar is like, he's like the center of a spider web, and it's like all these points of connection. Like if you connected to Shar, you connected like all these Black people, all these amazing, dope Black people. And I heard this term. Her name's Marvette, from Marvette, and the term is called cultural fluency. And I was not familiar with that term. I know about cultural relevance. Is this something that I get that makes sense to me? But this idea of cultural fluency, the idea that, because everybody knows what fluent means. Like especially if you're multilingual, it's being able to speak in these multiple languages and communicate effectively, right? And engage people effectively. And that's what I feel like when you look at the app, even when you look at the name, right? I'm gonna be honest. If I see You Good, I'm like, oh yeah, they Black. You know what I'm saying? It's, what I'm saying? They black, like without question. Cause that's how we do, you know what I'm saying? So, but if I saw something that said like que pasa, or, or ça va, my French is terrible, but I'm learning a little bit, then I'm automatically thinking, right? I know where to place that. And so with the title of it, I did not realize that about the semicolon. I'm familiar with Project Semicolon. I think that's an amazing nod, because the other thing that is signaling to people that you understand mental health on multiple levels. It's about checking in. It's about psychological well-being and wellness. It's also about, we want you to stay here on this planet. One suicide, right? One is too many. One is too many. And so I love it. And everything that you all are saying. So tell me a little bit about, if you don't mind, how much time do you feel like you have to spend? Because I want young people to hear, again, it's a passion project. So both of you have full-time careers, like you're, amazing professionals. Evans, I'm hearing you're a dad. I bet that is the cutest little chocolate drop in the world. I'm just imagining. I know she's adorable.
As is Ali as well.
Okay. Ali's a parent too. See, like your parents, like that's, I want to hear, how much time do you feel like, kind of week in and week out, are you all spending outside of your profession and outside of your families, tinkering with and working on and promoting and doing things for the app? Again, acknowledging that you're not promoting yourselves or your partners, you're really trying to promote the app. How much time would you say you spend doing that?
Not enough for me. Not enough. There's not much more I can say to that. It's not enough.
Okay.
Because we don't measure like how many people are using the app.
Right.
We don't measure none of that stuff. How many people have downloaded the app? If we were ranked in the app store, if the app was trending, what we measure is like, how is it affecting people? we measure the impact. And the crazy thing, right, is that like when people reach out to us, they're like, "Hey, man, you made it easier for me to check in on people," and we're like, "That's so weird to us, right?" Like, all the app does is send you good, and you can respond, right?
Right.
And like, how's it? So it's becoming crazy now. Where like, I'm like, really, we made it easy. Now, our thinking, our logic behind it, right? Like, we had the software logic and we also had the business logic. Well,
Yes.
it's not a business, but like in the sense of like
Yeah.
the business logic behind it. And we were like, oh, okay, this is easy to check in on people, but we're hearing people validate that now. We're like, this is crazy. So yeah, I need to spend more time. My job is very demanding in
Okay.
addition to like, being a parent,
Yeah.
and just enjoying life and being everyone sort of like in the sense friend. I get called
Yeah.
on for every single thing from big names to the Fortune 500 guys to down to guys like Evans. I'm just kidding, but but
No shade. No
everyone.
shade.
No, I'm just kidding. But everyone is pulling on us, and specifically even now, right? Like just
Yeah.
managing because you're working. Like I was late jumping on the call because you're working, you're taking care of stuff, and then people are texting you and they're like, "Yo, man, I love the app. You want to do this with us?" And we're like, "Oh man, how do we manage it all?" So it's we don't have enough time. I would say one thing we are in need of, and this is something that we always miss,
Come on.
are interns, people to kind of like join the team. That's something where I think, no, not I think, I know we do not spend enough time on.
Okay.
Like Evans has his whole laundry list of things that he wants to get accomplished. Me, I try to keep things in perspective and tell Evans no a lot, right? So I try to focus on the software, but Evans is right. Like we need support. We need support around people of color, just anyone,
Yes.
right? Of all
Yes.
people, of all ages, all looks, in all walks of life to support us on our support channel,
Yes.
our social media,
Yes.
our You Good Fridays that we're trying to start. That is like it's so tough to organize. So it's Evans. He's really running that side of things, and I'm focusing on the product side, which is very very is it's a lot. But honestly, what I do is I work a 12-hour day at work, and then every day, not 5 days a week, and what I do is late at nights after 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I have the energy, I'll work on You Good, or I'll wake
Mm-hmm.
up 6:30 and I'll have my laptop in my bed and I'll just be busting out some work there, and then Evans is doing the same thing. So we're just tag teaming as much as we can, but the time commitment is real. So yeah.
Okay, Evan. So we pitching it over to you. What are the real critical? Like this is important, right? Because Ali is talking about you need support. So we really have to be honest about what kind of support do you all need? Because look, people are gonna hear this and be like, I want to work. And how can they, right? And you're talking about this sounds like it might be opportunities for some young people with some skills, right? To
Right.
intern, to learn, to get mentoring and sponsorship from two incredible brothers like you. You got your other two partners. Can you tell us a little bit about what are the critical needs right now? Because we want to make sure people get the message so they can be hitting y'all up to work, put some people to work.
They hit us up for everything else, but not the work, which is crazy.
So, like Ali said, this, we're at a critical stage in the sense that, while, he doesn't like to like measure the downloads and everything, but we're getting a lot of them. We're getting a lot of, mentioned the other day, reporter, Josh Sternberg wrote like a really good article on us, and like the tech writer from the New York Times tweeted that article, and we just did an interview with the Black Information Network and WPIX and all these and we're constantly being pulled and dragged, and we need people to kind of assist us in the like Ali said, the social media, the You Good Fridays. We really want, people to kind of on Fridays do like, host groups where people just kind of like check in on each other, and then, just have that kind of, going. We spoke to some people in LA that are, really thinking about doing that. And we've just, had a discussion with two Nigerian NGOs about partnering with them because interestingly, Nigeria is a country with over 200 million people, and according to the WHO, there's only 150 psychologists for
That's
over
right.
200 million people. So
That's right.
so now we've partnered with two
Crazy.
organizations that we would want people to kind of like continue that engagement because first is Ali and I had a meeting and they're like 6 hours ahead and so we're just trying to coordinate a lot of discussions and every day is okay, is this meeting on West African time, is this meeting on Pacific, is it
Oh, wow.
Easter, so literally like
Golf.
we're just trying to make it work within our, around our day jobs because we have very demanding day jobs and people that depend on us,
Yeah.
and we don't want to, and you know, uh, we don't want to mess with that.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we need some young, energetic people that
Yes.
want to learn. 'Cause there's a lot to learn. Now,
Yes.
this is the ground floor in the beginning
Yes.
of of a movement that's even surpassed at this stage my expectations. So so for someone that wants to learn, someone that's that's eager to take their expertise and excitement about marketing, promotion, video, camera work, and just letting the world know about a very important cause, we would welcome that.
Oh, I love it. All right. So y'all heard it here.
Mhm.
Evans and
And
Ali gonna mentor y'all. Go ahead, bro. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they can
to
email us
contact
and
us, my email address is
Mhm.
Evans EVANS at ugood.app. So there's ugood.app.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Were you gonna add something, Ali?
Oh, I was just going to say they can also email us at a support channel as well,
Right.
support@ugood.app.
Yes.
Okay. Support.ugood.
Support
No,
at.
support at you good. Support at, we're gonna edit it. Support at yougood.app.
.app.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. And we're gonna make sure we put this in the show notes. So
Yeah.
you all have just described the 50 million, 50 limb things y'all got going on. So we're not gonna go too much longer, but I do want to hear, right? Because when you start talking about all the stuff that you're doing and you got kids and you got partners and people in your life and who depend on you and you got full-time jobs and this, that, and the third, then I start wondering, no pun intended, are you good?
Yeah.
Right? That's the question.
Evans, you go
So
That's a
first.
great question.
yeah, so y'all talk to me. Are y'all good? And how are
No,
you taking care of yourselves?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
You know, I'm great every day. Like my dad, who's like my best friend. My dad always tells me that like, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And he would tell me that as a kid, and he would always say that like, you have to like own your happiness, and
Hey, me.
you know,
Ooh,
and he would
I need
also
your
say
daddy on here. Good grief.
that he would also say like my favorite quote, like, if you look at others, they teach you what not to do.
Oh,
And so
snap.
like I've always been in this space where like I've always been good. Of course, I go through my ups and downs, but it's always affected by like my goals and my missions. Like nothing external affects me, right? And that's always been my way. And I think the people I work around or the people that mentor me, they've always acknowledged that about me. Like I thrive on minimum distractions. So the if it's not really like family or work, it doesn't have an impact on me. So work can have me in a bad mood, or work can have me in a yellow mood, let's just say that, or a
Mhm.
red mood. But I can't tell you the last time I've spent my day, or sorry, ended the day on red.
Mhm,
I
mm.
can't tell you. Like I can't tell you, like it's been quite a while. I might end my day on yellow, but mentally I'm tough. I bounce back. Now, what I do go through is like the mental health of like my family and stuff like that, right? So that affects my mood a lot, and my daughter and things of that nature. But other than that, like I know when I'm off, I know when I'm on, and I know how to bounce back. Just the other day with work, because I started a new role over the last 5 weeks, I want to ramp up so fast, right? And I put a lot of pressure on myself. But when I feel like I'm not catching on as fast, right, I get off. I took a walk around my house and I said, all right, like cut the phone off, well, at least put my phone down. And I said, next 5 hours, I'm gonna kill it. And then when I have my one-on-one, it was like, oh man, you killed it. So it's just like, I know how to train myself at this point where like, all right, something's off. And then I could kind of get it back together.
I love that. And I'm gonna put a bookend on that and just say that what you're describing is boundaries, and what you're describing is some people would call compartmentalization, right? So you
Yeah.
put your things in a box. I always tell people visualize a shelf, and you have these little I like baskets. You have these baskets, and each basket has a nice lining in it, and you put things in different baskets. And when
Yep.
it's time for you to deal with that thing, you pull that basket off the shelf, you deal with that thing, and then you put it back, and then you go to the next thing. And that's so important. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing that you've described is knowing yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
you thrive on minimum distraction. I'm the same way. I need silence. Whereas my spouse, he's a PhD math person. He can sit and do calculus and differential equations and all that stuff that I have no idea what it is. It's just some numbers. Y'all probably do know all that stuff, but he can do that, and TV can be on the radio, like all kind. I can't do that, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's knowing yourself. So I really feel like in this moment, like this is the parallel process. I can't take my psychologist hat off. I apologize, but people need to hear that, especially, let me say this from a Black man, because people forget that brothers got feelings too. And brothers have ways that they need to manage, right, their mental health and take care of themselves. Shar talks about it all the time. What is it? Invest in your mental wealth. That's what you're describing is what you do. So Evans, I'm going to turn it over to you. And I would just love to hear, are you good and how you taking care of yourself?
You know what? Those are two questions. The first one is I would say I'm okay,
Okay.
and how I've been taking care of myself. Actually, I have a trainer that I've been working out with Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and exercise as a way of kind of like making sure that you have a good day. But in the last few months, I don't know, I just had a lot of friends that have been losing loved ones, and that's
Mm-hmm.
impacting me. Like even a good friend that was helpful in our creating our app. I was telling Ali, I opened up, I said, yo, my friend Mike's on red, and then, and Mike's amazing. He's like this, he's a professor at Yale, a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I
and
probably
so,
know him, but go ahead because the
you know,
world is like that small. Yeah.
no, ain't too many black psychologists that are professors at Yale. So, but I saw that Mike was on red, and I found out that his mother is very ill at the hospital.
I'm sorry.
And another good friend of mine, Nakijo, she's been at the hospital since December with her mom. Then another friend of mine, Rashawn, he lost his brother, and it just kept. It's just for some reason, it's just like a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Even with the with COVID and people
Yes.
dying, and
Yes.
so you know if it's hitting me, I just know what must be going on with so many other people. But
Yeah.
interestingly enough, like it's interesting to see my friends that I truly care about that are on the app, and they're signaling their emotions. They're yellow, they're red, and I had a moment where I just said, "Wow, this little thing that me and my friends built is giving people an opportunity to let me know how they're doing, without really, you know, the burden of having to explain. And that's what this writer once recently said about our app, that it allows you to say a lot without saying a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. And like for instance, friend Mike, it was that red, and when I because he's never on red, so I was like, why is Mike so red? And but like I'm hoping, I think he recently got on yellow, so and I'm praying for his mom, and I'm praying that I can see him turn to green on the app. So I'm yellow, but I'm exercising, spending more time with my daughter so I can have those endorphins keep me in better spirits.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Were you gonna ask something, Ali? Go ahead.
Yeah. So like one of my good friends, childhood friends, he lost his mom
Oh,
2 weeks ago, and he's not really. He's interesting, right? Because like this is a crazy use case, like Evan described. He has the app, and he's a user of the app. But I just happened to be going through my contacts one day, and he's not that guy where he's like very, in a sense, like he loves Instagram, right? But he's
yeah.
not like he's not using other apps. Like he's a very simple guy. But I went to the app and he was on red. And that was interesting, right? So I'm like, maybe this request, maybe he set his mood to red, maybe when he first downloaded the app, or maybe perhaps I went into the database and checked. And he had set his mood. His mom, may she rest in peace, because she was like a mother to me. She passed away Super Bowl Sunday. And so I saw that in the database that he changed his mood to red. And then I checked in on him, and what I've been doing, I've been obviously communicating with him since then, but specifically I've been communicating him like through the app, and he's like yellow. I think he's green now, but to me that I haven't had it, no one in a sense in close proximity has passed away, but his mom was like a mom to me in a sense. And so that's an interesting use case that I have that was very interesting, that, he said, his girlfriend and a few others have checked in on him. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, I'm so sorry for both of your friends who've lost loved ones. We lost my uncle. My dad has 2 biological brothers and 2 or 3 adopted siblings. And the youngest brother passed away right after my mom passed. So that's been about 15 years. And then both of them were unexpected. And then the other brother, the middle brother, my dad's the oldest, he passed away December 2nd. And we're not sure if it was COVID or not, but just so I understand. That's what I'm saying. I really do understand. I'm gonna pray for all of these people that you've just articulated. You haven't named them. It's okay. We don't need to name them. We just want them to know that they're in our prayers, and that there's some of us who really do know what that experience is firsthand.
Yep.
And even if you don't know it firsthand, you feel because your loved one is hurting. That's somebody you care about. And so I just want to hold space and just recognize and honor that, because this COVID, it ain't no joke. Like it's really been no joke for those of us who are Black and brown. So to bring it full circle, I will say, Evans, that I appreciate you being open, right? I think that is a signal I want people to hear, right? Because we're socialized around these issues of toxic masculinity. That's how we're socialized. But what you all are doing is, I talk about breaking chains, intergenerational chains. And that's what you all are doing. That, what we learn and are socialized to believe is not necessarily the place we have to stay. And so you're modeling for your own children, for everybody who's watching and listening, that there's another way to be as a Black man. And that is, you can be honest about what you're feeling. You don't have to tell everybody your business, because I know how Black folks are. All of us of the diaspora, we don't do the telling the business. But it's important for us to at least be honest with ourselves. And so I appreciate you being so open, Evans and Ali. And then in closing, what I would love to hear from you all is if you could remind everybody, where can they go to get your app, number one? And are there other places on social media? Maybe not, but I just like to put it out there, where people should go to find more about the work that you're doing, number one. And then number two, remind the people of the email addresses that they need to use to get in contact with you if they want to work for you.
That's a lot.
Where can they find the app? Where can they download the app? I think I kind of know, but I want you to say it. And then
for sure.
Contact information for if they want to work for you.
Yeah, you can download the app, iOS and Android store, simply You Good, right? The app is quite popular now, so all you do is type in you and it comes up. But You Good, and contact information, support at yougood.app. And we don't want to say people working for us, because again, we're doing this just straight as from the kindness of our heart. So we want people to kind of like join us on this purposeful mission.
Right.
And so that's kind of like our approach there.
Beautiful. Anything you want to add in closing, Evans?
Actually I do. As we mentioned earlier, you served thankfully on earlier panel where we were kind of testing concepts about the app, and as did radio commentator Charlemagne the God, and I can't say it enough about how happy I am that he has normalized this conversation. He's really at the leading forefront of this conversation because, you know, we say you good. You good is part of like hip hop vernacular,
Right.
and hip hop itself is a language. I remember in college I studied in Denmark, and while everybody around me was white, there was a Wu-Tang concert, and now me and these white folks, Wu-Tang, we had the similarities in a way to discuss, almost like another language. So
yes,
hip hop is another language. I feel like with Charlemagne and being in the culture, he was able to articulate, mental health in a language that was accessible to the culture, and he made it, and he normalized it, and he was a great inspiration for this, and I'm glad that he was like he brought you along to kind of like have us pick your brains, and so he's definitely someone that in this movement that I'm very grateful to.
Oh, well, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna text him and be like, look, go listen to this episode because you got some shout outs and you need to take your flowers while people trying to give you flowers, take them flowers.
But he was mad at me at one point.
Say again?
I said he was mad at me at one point. I had dissed him so many times last year or the year before.
But you made up, right?
It was nothing with Charlamagne. That's my guy. But it was just like, Charlamagne was just like, Ali, can you be at this meeting today? I'm like, dude, I work, and telling him no, he was just like, oh man, come on. And so, when we first really kind of put this all together, he was one of the first people. In the early stages, as we were thinking through this, he and amongst several other people, who I reached out to, and he was very appreciative of the reach out. He's like, oh man, it was like, I thought you wasn't feeling me. I'm like, nah, man, like, you're awesome. So, definitely shout out to Charlamagne.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love like the brothers showing each other love. That is like awesome. And what a beautiful way to end this. Like, it's wonderful. So it has been my pleasure to have both of you gentlemen on.
Thank you so much.
Evans Anyanwu and Ali Gates is just, I'm only wishing you success. And the one little plug I'm going to put in, when we get to You Good Fridays, we need to do one for the young people, the teenagers, like 18 and under. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Alfie's going to host it. And we're going to do it between You Good, Acoma Project, which is my nonprofit. And we're going to have us an IG live. So we're going to have to find us a young celebrity to get up on this.
Please get in touch with Evans, because Evans is all on it. But just to let you know that you were on a list to host one of these. You on a list. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
That's true.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you both so much, and Godspeed, and just peace and blessings to you both. And I'm just wishing you only success.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
So there you have it. That's a wrap for another episode of Couched in Color. We want you to know that we deeply value you, all of our viewers and our listeners, and everyone out there working to support optimal mental health, both for themselves and for our young people. And one of the best ways you can help our movement is by leaving us a 5-star review on our YouTube channel and everywhere you enjoy your audio podcasts, and by sharing our podcast with a friend. Please also tag us while you're out there listening and watching. Finally, head on over to dralfiee.com for more information about me, www.acomaproject.org for information about my nonprofit, and those are the places you can go to learn more about how you can help. So I'll see you next week. And until then, I'm going to say what I always say, which is that I'm wishing you lots of love, lots of light, and that I'm hoping it is always, always informed by good, culturally relevant science. Take care.